everyone. Good afternoon. Hopefully you're having a lovely day. We've got another special fun stream for y'all. I'm happy to be here on another Saturday afternoon. We're going to do a little bit shorter stream than the behavior binge bonanza that we did last week, but it should be still very action-packed and very fun. It's great to see so many familiar faces here. Good to see you, Lillian. Good to see you, Jamie. Looks like we have some new faces here, too. We've got Gabby and Gabrielle. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you guys are here. This is going to be a fun stream. So I kind of have like two different ways that we could approach this, and I kind of want to get your guys' opinion here since you're here live and you're my audience today. So last week we did the behavior binge bonanza. A lot of that had like some freestyling kind of going over topics. So I was going to do that today for our SDs and MOs, but I do have some slides that are created. I think they do a really nice job of going over discrimination training at least. The motivating operation stuff, it's good, but maybe a little bit lackluster. And it has some examples in there too. So I'm thinking that we might do like a little bit of a mix of kind of like do some freestyling and some slides. But I'd love to get your opinion if you guys are like, yeah, we should do all the slides, like your freestyling stuff sucks, or like, no, screw the slides. We'll do like all freestyle. So if you have any opinions there, that would be awesome. Yeah, cool, a little mix. Yeah, I'm feeling a little mix. I'm feeling a little mix too. Sweet. Yeah, so there'll be some good visuals for you guys in there too. I think that's what's the big benefit of the PowerPoint. But the things that I type out, that's what the notes that I'll send you home with too. So they'll be all groovy there. Awesome. Cool, cool, cool. Well, I think we'll do freestyle for motivation, and then we'll do for our discrimination. We'll get into the slides. How's that sound? Sweet. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We will be giving away a couple mock exams during this time, so we'll see what happens. We have two mock exams available. So we have the BCBA Beat the Beast mock exam. This one, if you score an 80% on it, you get a money-back guarantee that you are going to pass the exam. We had two students this week that scored above 80% and kept that streak alive. They both passed their exams. I had no doubt in either of them because the Beat the Beast exam is that good of an indicator. So yeah, what's nice, kind of has like a little scoring scale about like, hey, how much you need to study or like how confident you should feel. Again, we are 100% pass rate at that 80% plus on your first attempt, so pretty cool stuff. We'll give away a copy of this today, and then we also have the mini mocks for mastery. You can also buy the mini mocks and the full mock for in a bundle for a nice low price at $115. But what's cool about the mini mocks is that they have some mocks that go over each section of the task list. And you can also get two of them for free. So if you go to the link that I just posted in chat, and if you go to the free mix section here, you can click on this and get access to these two mini mocks for free. What's really cool about these mocks is that they're super tough. There's no filler questions in these. They're all long scenario questions that will make you think. So if you really want a challenge, if you feel like the mocks you've been taking are too easy, these ones are going to give you a run for your money for sure. And they're at a really great price. If you look at like BAS or study notes, ABA, theirs are $150 for their mini mocks, and ours are just $99. And again, you can buy that bundle for $115. That includes the full mock as well. So I'll shut up about that. And I didn't even have my screen showing. So that was great. I suck at this. I'm not a salesman, I'm a behavior analyst. But yeah, so the mocks, the full mock you can take at any time and you get one attempt at it. So there's no expiration on that. You can take that whenever you'd like. For the mini mocks, you can get 6 months of access or 2 attempts on each mock exam. For sure. Yeah, Lillian, trying to get that money back guarantee. For sure. Well, it's not bad to kind of like see it and see where you're at. But yeah, just to show that scoring scale, because I did not have my screen showing. But again, we above that 80% mark, we have 100% pass rate. And then if you really like, a lot of people above 70 still pass the exam. But if you're feeling like above 75 to 80%, it's like you should still feel pretty confident. But yeah, so it's a nice kind of just way to like judge where you're at with the exam and how well you might do. All right, I'm gonna show up for real. It's okay to fail. Lillian, you have to fail to learn. There's no learning without failing. So okay, get comfortable with failing. It's a necessary part of life. I'm like really good at failing. I fail all the time. Okay, sorry, I just had to move my screens around a little bit more. But yeah, let's get into our main topics for today. So we're going to start with a little quick contingency recap. Then we'll get into, I think we'll do motivation first, and then we'll do discrimination, actually. So we'll flip-flop these. Then we'll talk about like tricky stuff between the two of them. And then we'll take a couple viewer topics, depending on where we're at with time. Yeah, for the Beat the Beast exam, you get very thorough feedback for every question. That is for the mini mocks as well. You can download your report and get the same, get super feedback, good feedback. All right. Cool. Well, let's first talk a little bit about our basic contingencies. So I always like to start this with the law of effect because it's my favorite term. So the law of effect states that the effects of our actions determine whether or not they will be repeated. So when we're referring to that term, that word effect, we're talking about like the consequences of our actions. And these, essentially what this says is that like the consequences of actions determine future rate of those actions. And it's a deterministic relationship. So a lot of people think about psychology and human behavior and like, oh, that's like something that we can't really apply science to. But that's the coolest thing about behavior analysis is that we apply science to behavior and we find out that there actually are meaningful scientific relationships and not just like as random as some people, especially philosophers, think they are. Yeah, let me try to zoom in here. Jamie, if you're getting a little bit blurry, it might be your connection, or maybe you can check like your video quality on YouTube. Does anybody else having that issue? Let me know. I think that's the best we're going to be able to do here. So again, the law of effect, we're looking at the consequences of our actions determine the future rate of those actions. So our basic unit that we study in behavior analysis is the basic contingency. So this is a relation between a behavior and a consequence. And it does also include the associated antecedents. But the consequence is that main component, again, that controls the behavior. So without reinforcing consequences, behavior just doesn't occur. So if we think about just like very simply about how organisms will behave, is that organisms behave to receive consequences that are more reinforcing and avoid consequences that are punishing. Or we'll say like avoid behaviors that result in punishing consequences. So kind of very simplified version of our contingencies, but just like our quick things to know. And then when we're looking at our different contingencies, let's just start look at like a positive reinforcement contingency. So the positive means that a stimulus is added, but I really want to emphasize this component. It's not just that a stimulus is added, is that a stimulus is added after the behavior. And then when we look at reinforcement, the contingency causes the behavior to increase in future rate. Yeah, right now we are just doing a little bit of recap on our basic contingencies, and then we're going to get into motivation very soon. And I think it's just really important to have these fundamentals down because motivating operations are going to make things way more complex. Also, if you haven't done so yet, the best easy way to support the channel is smash that like button. And you know how it works here. If we get more likes on the video, I might be more likely to give away some stuff here. So keep that in mind. So we've got our positive reinforcement contingency. Let's just go over like some really basic examples. I always like to just look at, start with our Skinner box. If you were at the Behavior Binge Bonanza, we saw this video. But essentially this is a rat in a Skinner box here. And what we can see is that he has a response lever. This is where he gets the a little water. So there's a little dispenser that lifts up some water. So every time he's over here, he's drinking water. Then we get an aerial view. So here he is pushing the lever, and then right here is where he gets that water. So that's our very basic Skinner box arrangement. If we go back to our contingency here, here's what that contingency might look like. This is just the way that I diagram and the format that we'll be using today. So this one would be our antecedent. He doesn't have water. He presses the lever, and then he receives water. So when now the consequence here is that he receives water. This was the stimulus that was produced in the environment as a result of this behavior. Our future effect is that it's going to increase pressing the lever in the future. So very simple, just getting into our positive reinforcement. Can anybody else in chat give me just a quick example of positive reinforcement, kind of like set in this format? So like antecedent, behavior, consequence. If you just want to focus on behavior consequence, that totally works as well. But let's see, anybody got a quick example of reinforcement in chat? Or positive reinforcement? Who's got one? Who's got one? I know I talk about like drinking water all the time. That one's kind of boring. Let's get something else. How about like order food, order pizza, and then like pizza arrives soon. Or you get like your DoorDash confirmation. And that's like paired with like pizza arrives soon. All right, sweet. We got some in chat. Let's see what you guys got. Child is given cleans their room and is given an allowance. Okay, I like that one, Chelsea. So yeah, we have clean room, and then to get an allowance. And if that's working properly, we'll increase cleaning room in the future. Good. So yeah, saying mom and mom answers back. Good. So we behaviors, we say mom, and then we get attention from mom. And now we say mom more frequently. Good. Let's see what else we got. We'll do one or two more here. Yeah, Latoya's got giving candy after completing demand. They do the demand immediately in the future. Okay, cool. So yeah, they like complete demand. And now they receive candy. And now that's actually what Latoya described as like a shorter latency to completing demand in the future. And that'd also be a type of reinforcement. Perfect. Let's see. We got one more. Eileen. Student finishes worksheet in a timely manner. Receives token. Cool. So yeah, finish worksheet on time. Receive token. And now they do finish worksheet on time more frequently. Cool. Okay, yeah. So Lillian. She got a circle bottle for her birthday, and now she drinks more water because it's flavored. So yeah, this would be like drink from circle bottle, and now it's like a good taste. And now it's like she drinks from circle bottle more frequently. Sweet. Yeah, good ones. Excellent, excellent. So we'll stop there with our basic contingencies. We did a little bit of review on that in the Behavior Binge Bonanza. So if you want to check more of that, we can go visit that. But I wanted to go just review that because it's super relevant to our motivation and discrimination stuff. So looking at our motivating operations, who wants to, let's see some definitions in chat. Like, what do you guys think of when you hear about motivating operations? So you can either try like a looser definition, or you can try like a more layman's definition. So Gabrielle, she's saying the circle bottle is the EO and the regular water is the AO. Not necessarily, actually. So it's not that. It's more like, it's not that there's different motivating operations in place. It's just that there's different reinforcers from these two different wines. So if we like drink, if we look at like drink from normal water bottle, it's just like the taste of water. So it's not necessarily that the motivating operations are different here. It's just that they result in different reinforcers. So you get the really good taste from if you drink from this bottle, or if you drink from this bottle, you just get normal water taste. For me, I like normal water. I think it's great. All right, cool. So yeah, we've got some definitions here. So Chelsea's got something that either increases the motivation or decreases. Okay, cool. So I think like motivation, like what we want to like refrain from using that word motivation in our definition. Oh, I like where Jessica's going. She's got a very nice definition. Oh yeah, Serena as well. I really like what you guys are capturing there. Anybody else want to give this a go? Tina, that's actually one effect of an MO, but there are multiple effects. All right. So let's go ahead and define this. I like what Jessica and Serena came up with. Best definition I like is that it's a stimulus that alters the value of another stimulus as a reinforcer. One thing I wanted to go over with our basic contingencies real quick is the difference between a reinforcer and reinforcement. So a reinforcer is just the stimulus that increases the rate of a response that follows. When reinforcement, this is more about relation between a behavior and consequence that increases its future rate. So, for example, when we look at like a reinforcer, this is just like my water. But my reinforcement, this would be drink from water bottle, resulting in water in my mouth, or like taste of water. And now this increases future rate of drinking. So this is like, it seems a little simple, but really important to get this distinction down. We have a reinforcer and we have a reinforcement. So when we're talking about value of a reinforcer, what this refers to is how strong the reinforcement will be if it's used in a reinforcement contingency. So value of a reinforcer equals how strong the reinforcement will be. And in other words, that's going to be how much I can't type. How much the stimulus increases behavior when it's used as a consequence for a behavior. So that's what we're referring to with a motivating operation, and this value of a reinforcer is essentially that stronger reinforcers will result in stronger reinforcement. And again, what that really means is that it's going to have a bigger increasing effect on behavior than if that motivating operation was not in place. Good. Yeah, Trisha's got that increase or decrease value of something. Good. Super important here. This is something that is also unique to a motivating operation. So nothing else really alters the value of a reinforcer except a motivating operation. All right, so we've got some common MOs, and I think those are deprivation and satiation. Who wants to give me a quick definition for deprivation? Deprivation. So we're deprived of something. What does that do? Good. And what does that do? Yeah, being deprived of something. What does that do? Okay, so yeah, lack of food or water might be an example. Good. So again, relate this back to our motivating operation definition. So if we are deprived of something, what does that do? Yeah, okay, Jessica's on it. Gabby's on it too. Nice. Good. Eileen's on it. Mindy, close. You gotta change one word there. Good. So yeah, let's get our full definition up here. So deprivation, this is when like not having consumed a reinforcer recently. That causes an increased value of that reinforcer. So if we so we use this in the rat lab. So we'll to actually like get the rats to press the lever, we'll first have to deprive them of food or water for 24 hours before the water actually becomes a reinforcer. Because think about it, it's like if they've had free access to water in their cage all day, then they're not going to press a lever to get one little drop of water. But if they haven't had water in 24 hours, then this actually becomes a very effective reinforcer for them. And the effectiveness of the reinforcer can help actually teach them the learning faster. So if you get a rat that had free access to water, they're not going to learn to press the lever with water nearly as fast as the rat who hasn't had water in 24 hours. Good. So yeah, when we look at this, so like our this might be an example relating to our basic contingency we looked at before. So would be like haven't had water in 24 hours would be our MO. Notice like we're not saying like that they're water deprived or like they're really thirsty. Those are really subjective terms. So we'll describe in more objective terms. If he hasn't had water in 24 hours, this is something that will increase the value of water. And so now we look at our basic contingency. No water, press lever, water. And now we have a strong reinforcement or like strong increase in pressing lever versus if we had the same thing. So he like has had free access to water. Now this will like weakly increase lever pressing or not increase lever pressing. So this would be more like our satiation now. Let's get a quick definition. It's essentially the opposite here. So instead of not having consumed a reinforcer recently, this is going to be having consumed a significant amount of reinforcer recently. And this is going to, instead of increasing the value of that reinforcer, it's going to decrease the value of the reinforcer. So that's our satiation. Again, like if he's had free access to water with our little rat, this contingency is not going to do very much at increasing the lever pressing. Good. Yeah, I like it. Oh, are you guys going to chat? Nice job, Eileen. Good, Tina. Yeah, Lillian saying I'm currently depriving myself of a vacation while I study for the exam. Vacation will be after I pass the exam. Yeah, hopefully that will increase that MO, get that studying going. I've seen you at all these events, Lillian, so it seems like to be fairly effective for now. Good, good, good. Okay. Well, I'm gonna flip to our PowerPoint for a sec because I have a couple other MO examples. Actually, no, let's get into some more terminology first. So, we have two different effects of our MOs. So first we have our value altering effects. And obviously these refer to like how much the value of a reinforcer or punisher changes as a result of the MO. And then we have our behavior altering effects. And this is, it changes the likelihood of behavior that results in that stimulus. So what I really want to connect here is that behavior altering effects are not unique to MOs. There's lots of different things that create behavior altering effects. So lots of different things create behavior altering effects. Can anybody list some other things in chat? So things other than MOs that can create behavior altering effects. So make a behavior more or less likely. Let's see that in chat. Anybody want to give that a go? Okay, yeah, people are saying like environment, but like what kind of environment? Like what things in the environment? Yeah, Lillian, I like where you're going. So like SDs can create behavior altering effects. Yeah, extinction can cause an extinction burst. Absolutely, that can alter rate of behavior. Yeah, so like too loud, too many lights. So I think that might be a motivating operation, like an MO to escape. So yeah, think about just more like terminology things. Matching law, I think matching law is more like a general principle rather than like a specific concept. But I guess we could say like concurrent schedules could create behavior altering effects. Yeah, I think that still like falls under extinction here. Yeah, some other things I'm thinking about are like prompts. Prompts can cause that. Obviously, if SDs can cause them, then S deltas also can cause behavior altering effects. We could also say that rules cause behavior altering effects. Yeah, nice, Trisha, got that. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, reinforcement latency. Yeah, I think that might just go like with like general like reinforcement or consequences, kind of create those behavior altering effects. Good. So yeah, what I really want to drill in here is that lots of different things create behavior altering effects, but only MOs create value altering effects. So only MOs are going to make something stronger. Did I include here? So also in our definition, like an MO can increase the, like alter the value of another stimulus as a reinforcer. This can also do it as a punisher or aversive stimulus too. And a pretty good technical, we would say like reinforcer or preferred stimulus or appetitive. I hate that word, appetitive, but it is more technical. But I think all these terms here essentially mean the same thing. And same with like punisher and aversive stimulus, they essentially mean the same thing. When we're looking at our value altering effects, we've got two main value altering effects. So we've got our establishing operation, and then we have our abolishing operation. The establishing operation is the effect that increases the value of the reinforcer or punisher. And the abolishing operation is going to decrease the value of the reinforcer or punisher. So, it's establishing if it makes it stronger. So if either a stronger reinforcer or a stronger punisher, that's establishing. Abolishing makes it weaker. We have, what's really nice is that like our behavior altering effects have a similar E and A term. Anybody know like those E and A terms? Yeah, we'll get into some examples in a little bit. But I like that one you've got there, Latoya. It's like an EO. It's like study more when the exam comes up. Well, let's break that one down later. Cool, yeah, nice. Serena's got them. Emily's got one. Good, Gabby's got them. Perfect. Anybody else? So our two behavior altering effects, they're going to be the evocative effect, and then we've got the abative effect. So the evocative effect, this is going to increase the likelihood of a behavior. And the abative effect is going to decrease the likelihood of the behavior. Now think about this word likelihood. The reason why we use likelihood instead of rate is that when we're looking at behavior altering effects, we're usually looking at like what's happening in a particular moment. So if you think about a moment of time, frequency doesn't really make sense. Like it happened once in that moment or it happened 5 times in that moment. Like how long was this moment? So it doesn't really make sense. So when we're talking about a specific moment of time, likelihood is the best measurement to use. So like what's the chance at a given moment of time that this behavior is occurring? So if we think about likelihood, probability, rate, and frequency, they all kind of interconnect with each other, but they're a little bit different depending on like what the context that we're talking about is. But we're talking about a specific moment of time, we want to use this term likelihood. So we'll say use when discussing a specific moment of time. And so it's like either the behavior is occurring or not occurring. So the likelihood tells us the chance of that occurring. So kind of deep there, but hopefully that all makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions about that in chat. I'm happy to review that a little bit more if we need to. But yeah, likelihood, talking about like how likely is that behavior to occur at this specific moment of time. And if we make a reinforcer more valuable, then it's going to make behaviors that result in that reinforcer more likely to occur. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about just like some really basic examples. So we talked, let's just go back to our water deprivation example. So like water deprived for 24 hours. So this is going to have a lot of different effects. So first of all, we have an establishing operation where this is going to make water a stronger reinforcer. And what this does is that it's going to have an evocative effect. So it's going to increase the likelihood of behaviors that have resulted in water in the past to occur. So if we're the rat and we've gotten water for pressing the lever before, now they're going to be more likely to press that lever in that very moment. It might also have an abative effect, and this is going to decrease the behaviors that result in the loss of water in the past. So think about if you haven't had water in 24 hours, you're going to be less likely to exercise. Because that expends a lot of your water. You might also, like if you've got like water in your bottle and there's something that has removed that bottle from your cage in the past, then you would be less likely to engage in that behavior as well. So less likely to engage in behaviors that result in the loss of water from their cage. So a lot of people kind of get stuck when they see like an establishing operation. They're like, oh, it must always only have an evocative effect. But really, any kind of a motivating operation can have both evocative and abative effects. So make sure you have that very pinpointed on which behavior that you're looking at if you want to explore these a little bit more. Okay, let's go to my PowerPoint because I think I have a few more examples where we can practice like that. So yeah, let's see. We'll just put this up real quick. Hopefully nobody sees that. Okay, so let me move my camera a little bit too. Perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to break down just the different MO effects going on in this example. So it's 5 p.m. and you have only consumed 300 calories today. That's the motivating operation in place. So how does this affect food? What is an establishing operation that might occur? So you're starving. How do I know that? What does that actually do in technical terms? I know, 300 calories. I mean, I'm a big boy. I eat a lot of calories. That's not very much. Makes food more motivating to consume. What word can we replace motivating for? You're hungry. Jessica has been slaying it tonight. Or not tonight, this afternoon. I'm used to streaming at night. So we're talking just about the establishing operation that this creates here. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, Tina on the right track. Yeah, Shayla stole the words out of my mouth. Perfect. Cool, cool, cool. So yeah, I mean the main one here, keeping it really simple, this causes the value of food to increase. So be really careful if you use like words like want food or I'm hungry or starving in your explanation, but miss this word value. Maybe rethink about how you approach this. Always think about value, 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 value with our motivating operations. Okay, how about an evocative effect? What kind of evocative effect is this going to create? So evocative effect. We're talking again, evocative effect. That's talking about likelihood of a behavior. Remember, evocative means it's increasing. It's evoking the behavior. Yeah, Gabby's on the right track. You can take that question mark off. Yeah, good. Clarissa's on the right track. Yeah, nice. Good, Serena. There you go, Lillian. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great. Yeah, Shayla, right on track there. Perfect. So here's our technical explanation here. Behaviors that have resulted in food in the past are more likely. So again, we're focusing on like that past explanation, explaining the what's going to happen in the moment. So if it has resulted in the food in the past, then it's going to be more likely. So things such as cooking is going to be more likely. Ordering food might be more likely. Going to the store might be more likely. Grabbing an apple off your tree is going to be more likely. Eating, obviously more likely. Good. Holden, good to see you here. Awesome, awesome. All right, there could also be an abative effect that occurs here. Anybody want to try that? It's a little bit trickier here. What do you guys think? So we have an establishing operation making food more likely. What behavior is this going to decrease? I thought we just said it's going to make us want to cook more, right? Let's say like we're starving or like we really need to go. Okay, Jessica is continuing to slay it. Again, we're talking about behaviors here, guys. Behaviors. Yeah, good. Chelsea, you're right on the right track there. Yeah, so Serena, that just might be like a stronger evocative effect for like the simpler option. So we wouldn't say it's a debative effect for cooking. We would just say like there's an evocative effect for both. Like going to fast food is less effort than cooking potentially. So it might evoke that behavior instead. Cool. So a couple different things here. So like behaviors that have resulted in the loss of food in the past are sorry, this should say less likely. My bad there. And this would also be like behaviors that result in loss of calories too. So I think anybody who said like decreasing exercise or any kind of like intense physical input was right on the right track there. Perfect. And a lot of people saying like going to sleep here, this might evoke going to sleep because it's like if you're sleepy, you're not hungry. If you're sleeping, you're not hungry, or at least you don't feel hungry. So that might be a different evocative effect if we're looking at sleeping. All right, let's try one more of these. So now this one is a motivating operation that's not necessarily like deprivation or satiation. So this is now that you have the flu. So first of all, how does this affect food? Obviously, we might have an abolishing operation here. Who wants to describe that for me? Yeah, for this last one, like behaviors that result in the loss of food in the past. So like think about like if you are a person that like doesn't have a lot of food. So let's say like you are unhoused and like your stash is just all there. Like it might like prevent like it might suppress like you leaving your stash unattended or something. Or if it's gonna rain or something, like leaving your food uncovered. Cool. People are on the right track here. Good. Yeah, you're less hungry. Decrease the value of food. Yeah, good, Gabby. Remember, really focus on that word value, value, value. If you're talking about a value altering effect and you're describing it without the word value, you're doing it wrong. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this one. Again, pretty simple, straightforward. Value of food decreases. So food is not as strong of a reinforcer. Good. This could create an ablative effect. So let's describe that real quick. If you want to give specific examples, those are encouraged here. So I'm noticing like we've got 39 people here, but only 17 likes on the video. This is kind of low. I mean, maybe if we get that number up, we might give something away or something. But I don't know. We'll have to see. All right, and again, we're talking about ablative effects right now. So behaviors are going to decrease in rate as a result of this. Good. Yeah, Clarissa, right on track. Yeah, Shayla, I think you're on track. Yeah, we're talking about ablative effects right now. Yeah, Serena, that one might be part of it for sure. Good, good. Yeah, Lillian, you're on the right track. Good. So yeah, ablative effect. This is behaviors that result in food in the past are less likely. So you have the flu, like you're gonna be less likely to make like a 5-course meal. You're gonna be less likely to order your favorite pizza or wings or whatever. It's gonna decrease cooking, absolutely decrease going to fast food because food is less valuable right now. You might be like, get me the soup or like, give me the ice cream, but like, but maybe not. Yeah, and our evocative effects here, some people had some good examples. So like it might evoke sleeping. I think, yeah, so this is what I had. So like behaviors that have resulted in comfort and or alleviation from symptoms are more in the past are more likely. So you might be more likely to take medicine. You might be more likely to have hot soup. You might be more likely to rest and sleep more. Anything that kind of falls in that response class. Cool, cool. So hopefully that helps with our little breakdown for our motivating operations. Kind of always break down what is the MO, what reinforcers is it affecting, and then what behaviors is it affecting. And note that we can have multiple behavior altering effects and even multiple motivating operations with one stimulus. Like having this flu here, it might decrease the value of food, but it increases the value of comforting things. So we saw that like one stimulus can have multiple functions like that as well. Alrighty. Let's get a little bit into stimulus discrimination now. So with our motivating operations, we like the easy way to think about it is like how bad do we want something? And with our stimulus discrimination, this is what we want to think about is like how do we know something is going to happen? So think about it as that is like our easy way, but we're gonna get super technical into this. All right, so let's break down. We talked about abolishing operations. So that decreases value of reinforcers. So like we saw the flu decrease value of food. All good, all good. Okay, let's get into stimulus discrimination stuff. So we've got a bunch of terminology we really need to get nailed down here. First of all, we have our two different stimuli. So we have our SD. This is also known as a discriminative stimulus. So this is a stimulus that signals reinforcement or punishment is available for a particular response. So stimulus is present. That means that this response is going to get reinforced. So like for me, like my water bottle feels really heavy. That tells me that if I drink, that I'm going to receive water. That reinforcement contingency is active. Now we have S delta. It's just going to be the opposite of that. So it's a stimulus that signals reinforcement or punishment is not available for that response. So like this cup here, I can see it's empty. So if I try to drink from this cup, this was my pre-workout from this morning. And if I try to drink from it, I don't get any water in my mouth. Actually, there was like a tiny drop of pre-workout in there, but the thing is, like, I don't get much out of it, so I'm not gonna really engage in that behavior that much because it doesn't result in reinforcing consequence. All right, now two different really important terms. These are very easy to mix up, so pay attention here. Our first one is discrimination training. Discrimination training, think about this as our process. So this is when we reinforce or punish a response in the presence of an SD and not reinforce or not punish that response in the presence of an S delta. So that's our process here. So real quick here with our water bottle example, like I've experienced that like, hey, if this is really heavy, then if I drink this, I'm gonna get water in my mouth. But if this kind of feels light, then if I try to drink from this, then I don't get water in my mouth. So that's the discrimination training process, is learning the contingencies associated with our different antecedent stimuli, the SD and the S delta. This process results in what we call stimulus discrimination. This is when a behavior occurs more frequently in the presence of one stimulus than another stimulus, so either the SD or the S delta, and this is due to our discrimination training. So discrimination training results in stimulus discrimination. So like since my behavior gets reinforced when I drink from a cup with water in it than a cup with not water in it, this results in my behavior shifting, and then I only drink from cups with water in it, and I never drink from cups without water in it. So the second part is our stimulus discrimination. That's the result, the changes in behavior given the context. And the discrimination training is that process. It's learning those different contingencies. Let me catch up on chat real quick. Yeah, building skills is saying understood SDP standing for punishment. Yeah, honestly, I think like the terms are pretty interchangeable. Like usually the SDP will be there for punishment, but everybody knows what you mean if you say like SD for punishment or SDP. Like people get it. If there's a question to be more specific, then you should be more specific. But that's kind of the end of that. Gabby's saying she has a question. So learn in DTT only one acquisition among distractors because SD and S delta, but my current company doesn't do it that way and all acquisitions are in the array together. Yeah, we're not talking too much about DTT today. I think that's really going to depend. I would add multiple acquisitions with the distractors. That doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right to like only have one acquisition and all distractors. Personally. All right, let's get into some facts for our discrimination training stuff. So an SD will always signal that the contingency is on. So that's either going to be our positive or negative reinforcement or punishment. Our S delta will always signal that the contingency is off. So that's signaling either extinction or recovery from punishment. If you don't know about recovery from punishment, this is essentially like when it's basically like extinction for punishment. So in extinction, like we turn reinforcement off and then the behavior decreases. In recovery from punishment, we turn punishment off and the behavior will recover back to its previous levels. So in our S delta is most often just the absence of the SD. So like we said for this one, our behavior for drinking water is that there's water in the cup. So the S delta is that there's water not in the cup. So it's kind of like stimulus there, stimulus not there for SD S delta. Note that discrimination training can be natural or it can be contrived. So natural, in like this situation that I gave you with like the cup being full or not. And then unnatural could be like teaching under like certain conditions, or if you think about discrete trial training, or just like really any kind of teaching, really, or a lot of different styles of teaching require discrimination training. Let's look at our basic Skinner box example. So this got a little bit more complicated now, but we saw our rat at the beginning. You may have noticed that he had a little bit light above his lever. So when that light is on, this signals reinforcement for pressing the lever. So he will receive water when he presses the lever when the light is on. The S delta being the light off, now when he presses the lever, this results in no water. So it didn't result in the removal of water, just resulted in no water. So we had extinction here. And now this is going to decrease the rate of the lever pressing when the light is off. So one really important thing that I want to highlight here is that the consequence here, getting back to that law of effect, also strengthens the antecedents. So we talked briefly earlier that SDs can cause behavior altering effects. So when we provide a reinforcer for this behavior in the presence of the SD, it's going to increase the behavior altering effect that this SD is going to have on the behavior. So the consequence is going to strengthen that. And then thinking about them can contact the contingency in the S delta condition. Now when that light is off, they press the lever and now no water is provided. Now this extinction is going to weaken the power of the S delta. So it's going to have a greater abative effect. So it's going to be more likely to decrease this behavior in the presence of that condition. All right. Well, we broke our 25 like benchmark. I think that's a pretty good time to do a giveaway. We also have Arianelia here. Welcome. I'm so glad you can make it to the stream today. So why don't we go ahead and we're going to give away a copy of the Beat the Beast mock exam. Again, this mock exam is pretty awesome. It's very similar to the real exam. Has very thorough feedback on every question. And also, if you get 80% or higher, you are guaranteed to pass the exam. Excuse me. So we're going to give away a copy of this right now. Let's do, we're going to do random number between 1 and 250. If you already have this exam, please refrain from participating. But if you like to play to take the exam yourself, then you are more than welcome to. Put a number 1 to 250 in chat. All right. Closest person is going to win it. Okay, I had our random number was 199. Tina Rue guessed 200. Very close there. Tina, just confirm, you want this attempt for yourself? Have you taken the exam yet? Have you purchased this exam? I forget if you popped up there. But if not, we will give this one to Tina. Congratulations. Congratulations, Tina. Yeah, can you just confirm if you've that you still want this attempt for yourself? If not, we will pull one more number. Perfect. All right. Cool, cool. Well, congratulations, Tina. Stay put tuned. We might give away another copy later. We'll see how things turn out. All right. Perfect, Tina. Congratulations. Yeah, send me an email after and to claim your mock exam. Perfect. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so that's our basic Skinner box example of our discrimination training. Here's what this looks like for our negative reinforcement, or sorry, this is actually our punishment contingency. So this is now when he hears a buzzing tone. If he presses the lever, he's going to get shocked. So our S delta here is that there's no buzzing tone. Now when he presses the lever, he does not get shocked. So this is our recovery from punishment in the bottom, is that no shock, press lever, no shock. It's not getting shocked, so we're going to see more of this behavior occur during this condition. Now with our, notice with our discrimination training for punishment is that the behavior actually decreases in the SD. Because the SD signals that the behavior is going to get punished, so they're going to engage in the behavior less when the SD is present. So again, the discrimination training part is contacting the two different contingencies in the two different conditions. Then the the stimulus discrimination part would be that they only press the lever when there's no buzzing tone, and they would never press the lever when there is a buzzing tone. So the thing about discrimination is kind of a little bit of a spectrum. So if they press the lever even once when there's a buzzing tone again, then we would say that the stimulus discrimination has, or like full stimulus discrimination has not occurred yet. Let's get into a couple more facts about our discrimination. So if there is no S delta, then there is no SD. This is super duper important. So if in this kind of case, the stimulus is probably something else. Let's give an example. So let's just go back to the water bottle example since we are already familiar with it. So if I don't have, like some people would say, and actually Pass the Big ABA exam teaches this incorrectly in their manual and in their videos. So listen tight if you've been listening to them. But they will say that the water bottle is an SD for drinking water. Now, let's go ahead and let's do what's called the S delta test. So if the water bottle is not present, will drinking from the cup result in water? Well, and that's actually it actually will still occur, but the thing is that the behavior is actually impossible. So if I don't have the water bottle, I can't drink from the water bottle. So the water bottle being present is not the SD. The SD, again, is something that signals availability of reinforcement for the response. So the SD here is that there's actually water in the water bottle. This signals that if I drink from it, then I'm going to get water in my mouth. So usually if something is not an SD, but you think it is, it's probably going to be a prompt or what we call an operandum. You may or may not have heard about this term before, operandum. This is defined as the part of the environment that the organism manipulates. So in my example, the water bottle is the operandum. Water in the water bottle is the SD for drinking. Also, if we look at our Skinner box example, this is the lever. So if we're not saying like if the light is on, but the lever is not there, that lever pressing wouldn't result in water because the SD is still there. Lever pressing would result in water, but if the lever is not there, then lever pressing is impossible. The operandum for the behavior is not present. So this is not an SD. It's just that it's something necessary or required to engage in the behavior. So again, yeah, if the operandum is not present, it's not an SD. It's just that the behavior cannot occur. It's impossible to occur. Lillian's asking if will be sending out the notes. I'll be sending out the handwritten notes, but I won't be sending out the slides. I apologize. I was like really slow on today and like didn't get a feedback form ready. So I'll be like rushing to create it at the end if you guys would like to receive the notes from today's session. If it's not an operandum or an SD, it might also be a prompt. But yeah, the recording will still be up in here, so you can rewatch it whenever. Yes. So if it's not an operandum or an SD, it might be a prompt. A prompt is defined as a supplemental stimulus that increases the likelihood of a response. So essentially, like supplemental meaning like extra here, and it increases the likelihood of a response, so it has an evocative effect on a behavior. Is our definition there. Okay, couple more little facts. So stimulus discrimination is the opposite of stimulus generalization. So these two terms, they kind of like will yo-yo or like teeter-totter back with each other, or seesaw. I don't know the term. But essentially like one of more is going to mean less of the other. So if you have discrimination, what this does is it's narrowing your antecedent stimuli. And when we have generalization, we're expanding our antecedent stimuli. So like it would be generalization if like I still drank from this empty cup and like I magically got water in my mouth. I don't know. I got like my one drop of pre-workout. It's blue raspberry flavor. It's pretty good. So like that might be generalization, as if I like drink out of this just like that last little bit. But discrimination is that I would not drink from this because it's empty, and I would drink from this because there is water in here. So yeah, it's kind of like a spectrum. So what we want to do, our goal is to teach generalization within appropriate stimulus classes. So like, yeah, I can still drink from the cup, the can, or the water bottle, but if it's empty, then I want to discriminate between those stimulus classes. So like, yep, these are all things to drink out of, but if they're empty, then it's not time to drink out of them. So this is kind of our goal. Generalization within the appropriate stimulus class and discrimination across differing stimulus classes. All right. One more fact here is that the more salient your SD or S delta, the easier discrimination training is. So if your SD or S delta is very salient, and that word just kind of means like obvious or very present in the environment, then discrimination training becomes easier. So like that light for the rat, if that light was in the back of the cage, then it might not serve as an SD or S delta as easily than if that light is right above the lever. So when it's right above the lever, it's becoming more salient, but it's behind, then it's less salient. If they were in a dark room, then the light also might become more salient because it's more obvious in the environment versus if it was already a lit up room totally, then they might not be paying as much attention to the light. All right, we're going to do walk through a couple examples together, and then I've got some full examples that we're going to break down, full contingencies, motivating operations, operandi, SDs, and S deltas. It's going to get lit, so I hope you guys are ready for that. Let's go through this more basic example first. Whenever the stove is red, you will get burned when you touch it. And if it's not red, then you will not get burned when you touch it. So I want to see in chat, what is our SD in this situation? What do you guys think? SD in this situation? Which color? Cool, cool, cool. On the right track, like in the answers. If you're just saying Color, not quite specific enough. All right, we got most people saying it's the red light. Some people saying it's the absence of the red light. Good. Right on track with most people. So with our contingencies, we always want to start with our behavior first. Sorry, I should have done that. So our behavior is touching the stove. Our SD is that the stove is red. So here's what our contingency looks like in our SD condition. When the stove is red, if you touch the stove, it will result in a burn. So remember, SD is that our contingency is active. Who wants to describe what would be the future effect of this contingency? So talk about rate of behavior and under the context. So again, we're looking at what is the future effect of this contingency, and I'd also like you relate it to the context. This is just the, Lillian's asking, like, what does the A no burn mean? It means that, like, before you touch the stove, you are not burned, so you don't have a burn. I like to just put this here to note that there's a stimulus change. So no burn resulting in the burn. Good. Yeah, Tina, I love it. Latoya, that looks great. Lillian looks great. Good. Yeah, nice, Serena. Yeah, Trisha, this is a positive punishment. Right on track. Good, good, good. So yeah, this is going to decrease the rate of touching the stove when the stove is red. So again, this consequence, this punishment is going to affect our antecedent. So it's going to give our SD a stronger behavior altering effect, a stronger abative effect. Good. What is our S delta now? S delta. Cool, yeah, Holden's on it, Shayla's on it. Good, nice, Tina. Awesome, awesome, looking good, looking good. So yeah, this one, the stove is not red would be our SD. And now let's look at our contingency. So when the stove is not red, we have no burn. We touch the stove, and now we still have no burn. And this is going to be increase the rate of touching stove when the stove is not red. So again, that consequence is going to affect our antecedent again. So it's going to create a stronger evocative effect for our S delta when we experience this contingency. Who remembers what contingency is this? So no burn, touch stove, no burn. What is that called? I only mentioned it once, kind of briefly. Anybody remember? It's a 3-word term. The first word starts with R, and it's not reinforcement. Anybody? Aha, Lillian's got it. Recovering from punishment. Good. So yeah, this one is recovering from punishment. The behavior is no longer being punished, and then we see an increased rate of that behavior. So again, that's kind of like why I like to see the antecedent here, because if we'd be like, no burn, touch stove, no burn, or if we just said like touch stove and then we don't get burned, then it increases. Like that sounds kind of weird. But if we know like the history of like, oh, we used to get burned from this behavior before, now we're not getting burned from this behavior anymore, then it is going to increase. Kind of makes sense. So again, recovery from punishment is this one. We have positive punishment on top. This is our punishment is active. Now our punishment is inactive. This is recovery from punishment. This causes the behavior to increase. Good, good. I already kind of went through this example with my water bottle, so we'll just run through it again. We drinking from our cup is the behavior. Remember, the cup is the operandum, so if I don't have the cup, I can't engage in this behavior. If there's coffee in my cup, then I get coffee in my mouth when I engage in this behavior. That's going to increase rate of drinking from the cup when there is coffee in the cup. Now with our S delta contingency, this is no coffee in the cup. Now when I drink from it, there's no coffee in my mouth, and this is going to decrease that behavior under that S delta condition. Yeah, Lillian, punishment is inactive in S delta, correct. This one would be reinforcement is inactive. We'd have extinction. All right. I'm going to leave a question for one bonus trooper here. What would complete stimulus discrimination look like for this example? So again, this is for somebody who's feeling really smart, really brave today. What does stimulus discrimination look like for this example in complete discrimination? Who's been paying attention? Who wants to show off those big brains? Anyone? So again, the question we're working with, what would stimulus discrimination look like for this question? Yeah, Lillian, on it, killing it, killing it. Who else? Anybody else want to give that a go? Put their own spin on it? Okay, so if we have complete discrimination, this would be that the behavior only occurs when there's favorable consequences and doesn't occur when there's not. So you would only drink from the cup when there is coffee in your cup, and you would never drink from your cup when there isn't coffee in your cup. That it would be our complete stimulus discrimination. Good. Shout out to Lillian, getting all the bonus cool points, even with distracting children. Awesome, awesome. Let's keep going. So here are just some tricks for differentiating SDs from MOs. We've talked a little bit about the S delta test already. So this is, remember, if there is an SD, there must also be an S delta. So what you want to do, what this test looks like, is that you want to ask, if this stimulus is absent, does the consequence change? If yes, then it is an SD. If no, then it's not an SD, and it's probably going to be like an operandum or a prompt. So again, we looked at like the water bottle example. Okay, so if we think the water bottle is an SD for drinking, okay, so if the water bottle is not here, will drinking result in the behavior or in the water? And it still does, but I just don't have the water bottle. It's impossible. It's the operandum from the behavior. The behavior is impossible to engage in. So that one would not be an SD in that situation. Another really important trick, this trick can get you so many questions correct on the BCBA exam. It's stupid. But if you have an aversive antecedent, it's always an MO, 100% of the time. So like, for example, it's raining outside. That's an MO to get rid of the rain. It's you're feeling really hungry. That is an MO to get rid of hunger. So if you have an aversive antecedent, that is 100% of the time an MO. you're going to hold on to any trick from today, hold on to that one because it's a really good one. All right, I've got a couple more scenarios to actually, sorry, we've got a compare and contrast, then a couple scenarios where we'll break things down. So SDs versus MOs, if they are both, this is how they're both similar. So first of all, they are both antecedent stimuli, so they'll both precede behavior. They both have behavior altering effects, so they can both make behavior more or less likely in the moment. And here are the unique things about them. So SDs, they create the behavior altering effects through signaling availability of a consequence. So again, signaling availability of reinforcement or punishment or not. MOs create the value altering effects. So really pay attention to not just, oh, this has a behavior altering effect, but pay attention more to what is it that creates this behavior altering effect. So MOs, value altering effects create behavior altering effects. With our SDs, we have availability of consequences creates behavior altering effects. All right. We've got a couple fun scenarios for you here. So we're going to be breaking down lots of different things. Here we go. So scenario, Harold checked out a study room at the library from 3 to 5 p.m. to get some silent space to crush hard for his exam the following day. He was emailed a code for the door that does not work outside of his scheduled time. He goes at 3 p.m., enters the code, and his peaceful study room is unlocked. All right, so we're going to break down each component of this contingency. First of all, what is the we'll start with the behavior. The behavior is entering the code into the study room. What is the reinforcer for this behavior? Cool. Yeah, a lot of people on the right track here. Gabby, Serena, like where you're going. Trisha on the right track. Tina, good. Yeah, nice, Jessica. Good, Shayla. Good, Camilla. Awesome. Yeah, so that reinforcer is the study room, the peaceful study room. Excellent. What is the MO? So what makes this a stronger reinforcer? Motivating operation. What makes this a stronger reinforcer? Good. Yeah. Yeah, Dora, Jessica, I like it. Yeah, Lillian, a little more specific, a little more objective. Good. Nice, Gabby. Good, Trisha. Good, Shayla. All right, so the MO here is that his exam is coming up the following day. So not just the exam at all, but the exam is coming up the following day. It like increases that MO, like that need to study, need for a quiet place to really just crush hard. All right, what is the operandum for this behavior? So we're looking at putting in that key code. Good, I like where we're going. Yeah, so our operandum here, this is going to be like that keypad or the lock. It's not going to be the code. The code is actually part of the behavior. Entering the code is the behavior. The lock is the operandum or the keypad that we're putting the code into. So yeah, the code itself is not the operandum. The lock or the keypad is actually the operandum. Good. Yep, just the lock, not the code. The code is part of the behavior. Same thing with like the taking Advil example. Like the Advil isn't added. The Advil is part of the behavior. Like it's the operandum. Like I can't take Advil if I don't have Advil. Operandum, we reviewed this earlier. Operandum is defined as the part of the environment that the organism manipulates. So it's the lever in the Skinner box, it's the water bottle that I drink from, and it's the keypad that we put the code into. All right, let's go for SDS Delta now. What do you guys got? What's our SD? Good. All right. I'm liking where we're going. Yeah, nice, Maria. Good, Shayla. Good, Gabrielle. Good, Tina. Pamela, that would be our reinforcer. Yeah, nice, Maria. Perfect. Yeah, if you want to go for both SD and S Delta here, that is cool. We like that. Yeah, good, Tina. Excellent, Lillian. Nice. All right, let's check this on out. So the SDS Delta is going to be at the time of day. So SD is between that 3 to 5 p.m. block where he reserved it, and S Delta is going to be any time outside of that block. So here is our full diagram now. We put in the code, and this gets us a quiet room. It becomes more motivating when there's an exam scheduled the following day. Our SD is 3 to 5 p.m. So if it's during that window, we put in the code and we get access to this. This is going to increase the rate of entering that code during that window, that SD period, so your scheduled time. If our S Delta contingency now, so if we engage in this behavior outside of that window, it does not unlock access to the quiet room. So this is on extinction, is going to decrease that behavior under those circumstances. All right, everybody's favorite example now, our gaslight example. Not gaslighting people, just gaslighting ourselves. I don't know. Let's check it out. So the flashing low gas light came on while Tracy was driving. She stopped at a gas station and saw an out of order sign at the pump she first pulled up to. She pulled up to a different pump that did not have a similar sign and then filled up her gas tank. She does this every time her low gas light comes on. All right, so first of all, let's start with the, our behavior is going to be using the gas pump. What is the reinforcer for this behavior? Again, behavior using the gas pump. What's the reinforcer? Why do we do that? Cool, Gabrielle, like we're going there. Careful with the word filling. It sounds like another behavior that might need to go in a different behavior box. So reinforcer here, we might just say that there's gas in the car. We have full tank of gas. Good. Be careful with like filling a gas tank because again, that's another behavior where we'd have to diagram somewhere else. So our behavior using the gas pump, this gives us a full tank of gas. Good. All right, what is the MO for this behavior? Good. I like where we're going. Yes, yes, yes. So that gas light being on, or you could just say that there's little gas in the tank. So we're like deprived of gas in our tank. I think either way could totally work. And one is kind of paired with the other. So essentially mean the same thing here. Good. All right. What is the operandum? So again, our behavior is using the gas pump. What's the operandum? Cool, cool. I'm liking where we're going. Yeah, we can keep it pretty simple here. Just the operandum is the gas pump. So if someone were to tell me like, hey, like fill up gas like right now, like this second, like, oh, I don't have a gas pump. So if I don't have a gas pump, I can't engage in this behavior. Doesn't necessarily mean it wouldn't work. It's just I don't have the tools to engage in this behavior. So the gas pump itself is the operandum. Very nice. And then how about our SDS delta here? SDS delta, SDS delta. Sweet. Gabby's killing it. Again, our behavior is using the gas pump. Should really put that somewhere else on the slide. These are still a work in progress. Awesome. Loving where we're going here, crew. Excellent, excellent. So let's go ahead and check out our diagram. The SDS delta is going to be the out of order sign, or not having an out of order sign there. Behavior using the gas pump, so that our gas pump is the operandum. If the gas light is on, it's going to serve as an MO. This is paired with no gas in the car. Then when we use the gas pump at the gas pump that there's not an out of order sign at, we will get gas in the car. And then we will not get gas in the car when we try to use the gas pump that does have the out of order sign in it. I'm like notorious for still pulling up to the gas pumps that have the out of order sign in them. I'll like still gonna use it. So like I don't have good stimulus discrimination here. I'll still like use it for a second. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna go to the next one. That might be like some generalization occurring, but if we want discrimination occurring, then we only use the gas pumps that don't have out of order signs at them. Very nice. I've got one more fun example for y'all. We'll do the same thing here. We'll maybe take like one viewer topic, especially if you've been here for a while. I'll be more likely to take your topic. But we're probably going to wrap up fairly soon. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let's check out this last one here. So Quincy is a bit withdrawn, but he's in a happy relationship with his partner, Mary. Mary notices that Quincy is more likely to talk about feelings and deeper topics after a few drinks, but turns the conversations away when he's not. She pours some wine at dinner, and they kill the bottle together, pouring harder for him. While snuggled on the couch that evening, Mary brings up some emotional topics, saying that she's had some tough feelings recently, and Quincy thoughtfully participates in the conversation. All right, so the behavior here is we're gonna be looking at bringing up tougher topics, or bring up like emotional conversations. So what is the reinforcer that Mary is looking for in this contingency? We might do a little talk on conditional discriminations. Yeah, I might hit that a little bit. So again, our behavior that we're looking at is bringing up emotional topics. What's the reinforcer for this behavior? It's not the whine. Let's talk about feelings. Good. Now we're on it. Yeah. Nice, nice, nice. Good, Gabby. Good, Donna. Good, Emily. Yeah. Nice, Latoya. So yeah, we're going to stay very straightforward. The reinforcer here is going to be Quincy's participation or having that conversation. It's the reinforcer. Good. What is the MO for this behavior? Yeah, for Mary, so again, we're still looking at Mary's perspective. I think you guys are on the right track. So Mary, like having those tough feelings recently might be the MO that's like increasing the value of this conversation. Good, good, good. We'll skip the operandum here. I actually think the operandum is Quincy. So like to have a conversation with Quincy, like Quincy needs to be there. And then we'll skip to SDS Delta. What do you guys think for that one? Yeah, again, behavior that we're looking at the whole time is having the conversation with Quincy. We said the reinforcer is that Quincy is engaging. We're getting that attention. The MO was that Mary has been having those tough feelings recently. It's not necessarily just the whine. It's a little bit more. A little more than just the drinks, more than just the wine. Remember, Quincy's our operandum. Remember, the presence of Quincy is not an S delta because Quincy is the operandum. We need to have Quincy to have the conversation with Quincy. Aha, Emily's on it. That's what I was looking for. Perfect. All right, so the SD is that Quincy is drunk. The S delta is that Quincy is sober. Let's go ahead and look at our diagram now. So when Quincy is drunk, Mary brings up the emotional topic, and then we get Quincy's participation. So she's going to do this more frequently when Quincy is drunk. And when he's sober, then this behavior is on extinction. She brings up an emotional topic, and then Quincy does not participate in it. So this is going to decrease the rate of that behavior. Tricky, tricky. So yeah, this is like really good practice to do. Come up with your own scenarios and see if you can break down each different component of the contingencies, because that is your job. When you become a behavior analyst, that you need to look at a scenario and understand how all these different parts work together, so we can identify what is actually going on and how we can modify the contingencies to make socially significant behavior change like we want. All right, so that's my rant on SDs and MOs. I am going to go pee really fast, and then we're going to get into some other fun stuff. If you guys have an idea of something that else that you would like to talk about, put some suggestions up there. I'll take like one or two, just because my voice is dying a little bit, but we'll take a couple, and I'll be right back while you guys are filling the chat with those. Stupid camera like follows me all the way to the bathroom. All right, let's see. Compound and concurrent schedules. I think we did that on a video. If you go to the live tab, we definitely did compound schedules at some point. I showed my little PowerPoint on it. We'll skip that. We already have a generalization PowerPoint. We've done that a couple times. We'll skip that. Give me something fun, something new. Oh yeah, Serena, hypothetical constructs and explanatory fictions. All right, we'll do that one for Serena because she's been here the whole time too, and she mentioned that earlier. So yeah, hypothetical construct. We'll go down here to viewer topics. Keep this more organized. Hypothetical constructs. And then we'll get explanatory fictions. Awesome. What else you guys got? Anything else cool? If not, we might just do those and call it a day. Also, if you want to keep the studying going, you can get 2 free mini mocks at that link here. Really awesome at the Understanding Behavior mini mocks. All you have to do is click these, and then you get 2 really difficult 25 question mocks. Lisa, all right, yeah, someone's like testing soon, testing next week, what to do. I kind of like those. Yeah, I guess we'll throw circular reasoning in here too. All right, those are our topics. We're going to cover these, and then we're going to wrap it up today. Okie dokie. So, yeah, let's talk about hypothetical constructs first. So these are things that may or may not exist that are used to explain why behavior occurs. So give me some examples of these. This might be like my intuition. This might be like God. This might be like my spidey senses. This is just be like my gut feelings. So like some of these things like may or may not exist. Like my gut feelings, like I think they exist. But like is this like use this to explain behavior? Just like, oh yeah, like Trump just had to turn his head because his gut feelings told him so. Just like, no, like act of God made him like turn his head so he didn't get killed. It's like, no, these are all hypothetical constructs. They can be used to explain behavior. They may or may not exist. And typically they're not great explanations for behavior. So we'll just put that here as like, they're typically not great explanations for behavior. And this is because it's not related to behavioral principles and like scientific concepts of how behavior works. So that's a hypothetical construct. Explanatory fiction. This is when we use a hypothetical construct to explain behavior. So like example of this would be like, my intuition told me to buy a lotto ticket today. So I did. This could also be like Jesus told me to go like give a homeless person or an unhoused person $20 today. So again, it's like we're using this hypothetical construct to explain why a behavior occurs. That's an explanatory fiction. And we can also be like, Johnny hit his brother because he was super angry. So being the super angry, that's the hypothetical construct. The explanatory fiction is when we use that hypothetical construct to explain behavior. Circular reasoning now, this is a logical trap that you fall into when using explanatory fictions. So let's go ahead and break down an example of this. So we can say Johnny hit his brother because he was super angry. So that's like our initial question we ask is like, why did Johnny hit his brother? And he did it because he was super angry. And how do we know he was super angry? So how do we know Johnny was super angry? And this is because he hit his brother. But why did he hit his brother again? And it's because he's super angry. So this is the kind of that trap you fall into. Is like this like line of questioning could continue forever and ever and ever, and it doesn't lead us anywhere closer to an actual explanation of behavior. So again, hypothetical construct is the imaginary thing. The explanatory fiction is using that thing to explain behavior. And circular reasoning is the logical trap that you fall into when you use this. Lillian's asking, is this like superstitious behavior? No, I wouldn't say this is superstitious behavior. Well, it could be superstitious behavior. I mean, yeah, we'll get a quick definition of that up here. So superstitious behavior. Actually, I haven't defined this in a while. Let's see if I can do it. But it's essentially like behavior that occurs like due to an expected outcome. Like I'm just gonna say like usually due to like temporally related reinforcement. So if we think about like the baseball batter's superstition. So it's like you hit the home run when I batted, or like when I tapped my bat 3 times against the plate and then blew a kiss to the air. So this is not necessarily, it's kind of like a reinforcement contingency, but not necessarily. So these two things are temporally related. So he taps 3 times, throws a smooch in the air, hits a home run. Now, what happened is that, like, technically this was reinforced, but it doesn't mean that tapping the bat 3 times and smooching the air caused the home run to occur. But since it occurred kind of simultaneously with the action that did result in the home run, this was superstitiously reinforced. So now the baseball batter might be like, okay, well, if I do this routine every time, then I'm always going to hit better. And it's not necessarily true. It's just that there was like this weird like temporal reinforcement that's not necessarily contingent reinforcement. Does that make sense? Like that difference between like temporal versus contingent reinforcement? So like temporal reinforcement is just like consequence happened to end up right after the behavior. And contingent reinforcement would be like the consequence was directly produced by the behavior. So when you look at NCR schedules can create superstitious behavior because let's say we're working with a rat in a Skinner box and we're doing like NCR every 3 minutes, for example, with a pellet of food. Let's say like he spins around like 3 times and then like that timer ends and he gets a pellet of food. Well, the rat might just end up like spinning around in his cage a lot more frequently, at least at first, like in a little extinction burst, because we had like that temporal reinforcement, and it actually did increase the behavior, but it's not contingent reinforcement, so it doesn't maintain that behavior forever. All right. Hopefully that makes sense on some mentalism stuff, and it was kind of fun to talk a little bit about superstitious behavior. Let's talk about this one. So you're testing next week. What should you do? First of all, you should take a mock exam. There's a really good one I heard. It's called Beat the Beast from Understanding Behavior. But take a mock exam in a full 4-hour sitting. And I would do this ASAP. So this is just like get a feel of the testing setting and pacing. So your pacing might be faster or slower, and you should be like have a feel of that, so you're prepared to adjust for that on test day. Yeah, that's a super important thing to do. What I would also do is like start like coming up with more original examples, and expand what you know about the basics. So like topics like reinforcement, SDs, MOs, like they have a lot of depth to them. And there's going to be a lot of questions on them in the exam too. So, get creative, apply, like, and do like, self-check with feedback, by comparing, your example to a technical definition. So thinking about like, does this all meet my criteria, like meet the criteria of a definition or a concept as needed? Yeah, as far as like kind of keep things fairly light, like don't go too hard, like so go light on studying like 2 days before the exam, and really just like review feedback, and spend time cleaning up what you're less comfortable with. So yeah, review feedback from mock exams. Let's digest why errors are occurring in mock exams, and review. And then just identify like areas through those mock exams on things that you're less comfortable with. And then clean them up in Cooper. Clean them up in Cooper by reviewing Cooper and creating original examples. Another really good strategy at this point is like try to teach other people. So it could just be like a friend, partner, spouse, whatever, mom. Just be like, hey, can I talk this out loud with you and see if it makes sense? This is like the number one thing. So I get a lot of people doing tutoring, and people always tell me like, oh, I know it, but like I can't like talk it out loud. And it's like, well, if you can't like talk it or teach it out to somebody, then it's like, how well do you actually know it? And it might suck, and you have to be a little bit real with yourself and be like, well, if I can't explain this, do I actually know it? But practicing talking out loud and finding somebody that you can kind of like go back and forth with and see if things make sense with can be a really helpful tool to help you master your studying even further. Alrighty. Yeah, get your little guinea pigs out for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I do want to send these notes out. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do so yet. I was going to do a feedback form, but I think I'm just a little too late on that. So I will figure out, I'll probably just post like a Google Drive link to these notes later if you'd like to review them. I'll post the link to that on the description as well. But thank you guys so much for showing up today. I know this got announced kind of last minute, but I'm still pretty happy with the turnout. Hopefully this was a helpful stream for y'all. And we'll be back next week. We should be doing a stream on Thursday and getting back into a more normal swing of things. So hope to see you guys there. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming, everyone. Glad you enjoyed it. Awesome, awesome. Well, appreciate you all. Again, check out the shop if you are interested in checking out some really awesome mock exams. That's not the link. Here's the link. And you can also get those 2 free mock exams at the Learn World's website. So check those out. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll be back next week with more fun content. Keep slaying, crush those exams, and catch you soon. Bye, everyone.